Ladies and gentlemen, fellow patriots and freedom-loving Americans, welcome back to another episode of The Source, Rule Breakers, Lawmakers, and Influencers. This is The Source, where rules get broken for the greater good, laws get made to serve the people, and influence drives us forward. Today's episode, we'll be speaking with Andrew Becker, founder and CEO of Career Alignment Group, a recruitment agency built on the beliefs that careers and companies evolve. And the right moves happen when both are intentional about who they're becoming. Andrew's career began helping scale a startup from one room to a $40 million acquisition, so he knows what really makes teams and hires work long term. He then spent 5 years in legal recruiting, placing top attorneys at major law firms and building a strong record. As the founder of Career Alignment Group, he works with venture-backed startups in growth mode, helps companies make key hires, and guides high-level attorneys to figure out and step into their next role with clarity, intentionality, and purpose. Andrew, thanks for coming on. Welcome. Great to have you here.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for bringing me on.
So you've been in recruiting for a while.
Yes, sir.
And so you're in law primarily.
Yes, sir.
And so now you've gone out on your own, staying in law.
Actually, I took a dip into engineering with these venture-backed startups, mainly out of the Bay and New York City, and did that for a few months, won and learned a lot, and failed forward fast before jumping right back into legal.
Okay, awesome. And so, you know, it's your own firm, so you created it yourself, so that's awesome. Congratulations. We love having the maverick entrepreneurial spirit here on The Source.
Thank you very much.
So when you look at what your positioning is in the market and what you're really looking to bring to the table, not only to the candidates that you're working with, but also the companies that you're working with, how are you creating alignment between them that serve both of their needs? Obviously, a company is looking for a great hire who's going to stay with them long term. And, you know, you want candidates who are not necessarily looking at it as a leapfrog, right? Where I'm going to go here for 2 years, then I'm going to go here for 2 years.
Sure. Yeah, great question. I believe it starts with on the company side, on the team side, understanding, getting in deep with some penetrating and highly effective questions, really getting into their world instead of staying surface level. A lot of companies relegate it to like, oh, here's a job description, go out and do what you do. I feel it's my role and my value to press that forward. Ask the questions that truly uncover what their DNA is. Not just what are the capabilities and requirements of the role, but what's the profile? What are the qualities of the people that really thrive here? What I find is when you attract winners and you have winners on your team, that energy, that definitely attracts more of the same. So that's on the team side, right? The company, the hiring side. On the candidate side, the difference I bring to the table is asking very penetrating, but also very simple questions that a lot of candidates, I feel, don't really take the time to contemplate. Things like, who do I want to become in this next phase of my career? What kind of impact do I want to have? There's often like the shiny new object in their purview that they leap to. But by getting into their worlds, by supporting them to define who they want to be, that's how I truly create that alignment on both sides.
So, you know, we've talked about the 4 questions in the past. So
yes, sir.
You want to take us through the 4 questions. But as I think about a candidate, I also think about how many people are looking for something better without understanding what they really like and dislike about their current role and what they're hoping to get out of the next role,
right?
Rather than just more money, closer commute, right? The things that on the surface look like these are the reasons I should be jumping versus I have a longer term vision of where I want this to lead me.
Definitely. And I feel that if we look at it for a candidate, any number of candidates who don't take the time to define that for themselves, it's an interesting thing. They end up creating that same circumstance or that same situation at with multiple teams. And it's like, who can I blame here, but who's the common denominator, right? It's them.
Well, no matter where you go, there you are.
Correct. So as far as these questions, leading off, it's, hey, who do you want to become in this next phase of your career? What kinds of qualities? For attorneys, that can mean, hey, I really want to take ownership of a client relationship. I want to take more responsibility in a matter related to a big deal for like a corporate attorney. It's what kind of teams do you really thrive in? What do you like about your current team? What do you not like? Do you seek more mentorship? Are you truly being developed? And asking penetrating questions for like a litigation attorney, as an example. It's, hey, are you really getting the reps in? Are you getting the development to truly be ready to stand up in court? Or are you being relegated to like the go-to site checker that's your role on any case that comes through? So it's these kinds of questions that get these professionals to really stop and take stock. And am I really looking down the road, or am I need a quick solution here? And so it's questions like that. What kind of impact do you want to have with your work? For whether it's engineers, whether it's salespeople, whether it's these high-powered attorneys, that impact question is a great one because it speaks to legacy, which a lot of people think is something you only kind of uncover at the end of your life, the end of your career. But in my personal experience and the experience of the individuals I've worked with, it's something you're actively building. And so just asking these kinds of questions, giving a person the space to respond and feel into these responses, take a second. That again is a huge difference maker that definitely changed their trajectory and how they view an opportunity.
So when you look at, the 4 questions, it's, what kind of person do I want to be, right?
Yeah.
What kind of people do I want to be around? What kind of, what's the third one?
What kind of world do I want to live in?
What kind of world do I live in?
Yeah, what's my day-to-day look like? Yeah, what's my home life look like?
Yeah. So when you're looking at candidates, how much of obviously, well, not obviously, I'm feeling that you want to be very intentional and discerning with the candidates that you bring on because they are always going to be a reflection of you. Right? When you propose them to these firms.
Yeah.
So, what are you looking for? What are you looking for in candidates, right? As the recruiter placement person.
Yeah.
And when you look at the firms that are retaining you, are they typically looking at entry-level attorneys that they want to grow? Are they looking at bringing on senior personnel that have an established track record that can grow a particular practice area? Or is it all over the map?
2 great questions. As far as what the teams are looking for, it's certainly all over the place. I'll use the example, we'll step outside of the legal world for a second. When I've been working with these startups, you're in the business world, you understand depending on the stage of that company, they have very different needs. If it's a startup that just got their Series A funding, for example, or even pre-seed, very early in their life cycle is my point. They need someone who can wear multiple hats. Right. Versus when they're a little more mature, a little more evolved, they need that one person, that specialty, right? That niche. So depending, point is the requirements can evolve, right? When we're talking about the legal space, it's entry-level attorneys at least a year in, all the way up to senior associates, call it 7, 8, 9 years in the game, all the way up to partners. And these are law firms that handle, like if we're talking about like a Facebook acquiring WhatsApp, these are the attorneys that are overseeing the due diligence of that kind of deal. Or litigation for like a Goldman Sachs. Very high level, very New York City white shoe. That's the type of attorneys and law firms we're talking about. So their needs are definitely all over the map. And they can change, like when we got out of COVID and there was a lot more capital in the market, guess what was really seeing a lot of movement is M&A. And so it's depending on what's happening in the market, that can heavily influence, especially in law, what's happening with these big businesses, what's happening mid-size to large-size businesses all over the place. And to answer your second question, or your first one actually, I jumped to the second. What do I look for in a candidate? I look for in a candidate, much like I'll relate this to as we get older, the relationships we invest in, we want to see that mutual investment back. So when we have friends that kind of keep us in the bucket of like, oh, I'll send you a happy birthday text, for example. But they're not willing to just pick up a phone and check in and see what's really going on.
Right.
Nothing personal to them, but that's not someone I want to invest my effort, my attention into, versus someone that is committed to really elevating the relationship and evolving it. And I see candidates the same way. So from the recruiting lens, I could call some young attorneys, for an example, or young engineers for that matter. All they want and all they put me into a bucket on is, hey, just send me roles. Just send me roles.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, that's totally fine, but I look for a different kind of relationship. And so it's very discerning on my part to have to decide, is that someone I want to invest my time and attention into? Or do I want the person that truly feels the value of what I can provide, not just as a paper pusher, an opportunity pusher, but someone who truly gets into their world, who becomes a career guide, a friend, a guardian, depending on where they're at in their career and what it is they're looking to do.
So in the recruiting arena, you only get paid if they're placed, correct?
That is one avenue.
Okay.
That's contingency.
Okay.
There's also retained searches.
Okay.
And there's different kind of models, especially nowadays, there's different models. But yeah, there's getting paid only when you place. There's, if you have a great relationship with a hiring team, for example, they understand your value, they want your full attention. So they're going to pay you up front. And it's your job to deliver the candidates and make sure they get that hire filled, right?
So typically, though, it's the firm that's paying you, not the candidate.
Correct.
Do you think that there's a disconnect there? Right? We have a saying, free goods are overconsumed, right? And people only value what they earn, right? And so when you look at it from a candidate's perspective, it's like, oh, well, this guy's going to send me opportunities. I'm going to go to this company, right? You're doing everything you need on this side with the firm, et cetera.
Right.
Right. But what, other than sharing mutual values with you and a candidate, and by extension of that, the values of the company, like what do you find creates the stickiness for the candidate in appreciating what you're doing for them, in really helping them to create a career that by virtue pays for their car, their house, their family, like all of these other things?
Right.
It's like, how do you make sure that you're aligned with the candidate and the candidate understands, like, this is really a three-way mutual relationship? Right.
Yeah, great question. And I'll say, bottom line, it's delivering value right from the start. And it's an industry where recruiters, fortunately, unfortunately, have been known as like, I'm just going to send you opportunities, or at least that's my experience, one of my perspectives. Nowadays, it's become pretty in. The buzzword is this reverse recruiting. I've just started looking at this on like my LinkedIn feed, which is something I've been doing for years. It's finding a candidate that you're aligned with and that you can advocate for, and bringing them to market. And apparently some recruiters are charging these professionals for that service. Whereas when I was doing it, I was confident in being able to introduce them to the right teams and provide that value of, asking those 4 questions, understanding where they wanted to take their career. And my experience is that is delivering the value that I'm referencing. By standing apart from all these recruiters who are transactional and even how they present their value. Hey, I'm just going to send you the right opportunity. Hey, how about this one? Hey, how about this one? Hey, how about this one? When I can slow down, when I can ask these questions, when I can ask a senior associate at a law firm example, whether he cares about owning a client relationship, whether he wants to just service these big institutional clients, those are the types of questions that instantly deliver value without me having to prove anything. It's like understanding the nuances of what these individuals are asking themselves already, but maybe not vocalizing. So to bring it back to bottom line, it's delivering value by way of what questions I ask, how I present myself, and differentiating myself from other recruiters in the space.
Well, let's take it from the other side. What are you looking for in the candidate, right? You're talking about you're delivering value and you're providing this. What's the mirror? What's the candidate need to be showing you that they're serious, that they're legitimately, they're very clear
Right.
on what they're trying to accomplish in their next stage of their life, right? And also, are they very clear on what didn't work at the last job that's leading them to want to go to a new position?
At times they are, at times they're not. So for me, what am I looking for in a candidate? A candidate that is willing to take a little bit more time on the front end to have this conversation. That can take 10, 15 minutes. We're not talking about a 2-hour deep dive therapy session. We're talking about, hey, let me ask you some questions that'll really help to define where it is that you're coming from, where it is that you want to go. And it really comes down to the questions. It's, hey, what were you really not getting with this last team? What are some qualities in a team that you are clear that you really thrive in that kind of environment? So again, it comes down to being present with them, being able to listen actively to what it is they're sharing, and intuit where to take the conversation, not just have a script of questions I got to run through, but to be able to truly be that career guide, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a candidate, once again, that understands the value more of a partner versus a transactional professional. And sometimes I see that the younger attorneys in the space, all they know is that recruiters are transactional. It's typically the older ones that are thinking more about long-term, that can feel the value, and typically they're more apt to invest a few more minutes, right?
So when you look at education, right? So I'm going to make an assumption. You can tell me whether I'm right or not.
Sure.
That for a younger attorney, where they went to law school is probably very important to a hiring firm.
Definitely.
Right? Now, take that to someone who may have gone to a second-tier law firm, but has built a specialty,
right,
and has 10 or 15 years experience.
Sure.
Are the larger firms looking for that education? Does the education ever supersede the experience, or vice versa?
It can. As you get older, that's when in the attorney world, that's typically when you build that strength in a specialty. When you're starting out, these firms understand if they're speaking to a client, hey, here's the team, here's the profile of who we have working on this for you. They're coming from Harvard, they're coming from Yale, they're coming from Stanford. As you get deeper in an attorney's career, what they're able to deliver can absolutely supersede.
Yeah.
Like for example, when I placed a couple attorneys from these big firms coming from these top law schools into a legal tech startup, which is all the rage in the space with AI being commercialized and all sorts of stuff. It's a similar mindset. When they talk to their startup clients in like San Francisco Bay or New York City, understand the power of here's who we have working on your matters. So instead of you going to a big law firm and paying out your pocket for all that, we still have the Columbia grad. We have the attorney coming from this type of firm. So in this space specifically, it definitely matters. Just like in the tech space on the venture capital side, these venture-backed startups, especially the ones doing things with AI, Stanford grads. If you're a Stanford grad, you're basically royalty. If you came from Anthropic or not even the big tech names anymore that were big 10 years ago. It's
Claude, Perplexity, all of these new that are starting up and getting notoriety.
Exactly. So those names definitely carry weight. So a shift in the market has definitely been occurring. More movement for sure. So if you jump after 2 years at a startup, as long as that startup has a big name and it's recognized, that ain't going to tank your career or be a red flag. So it's very interesting to have seen it from different industry perspectives and see the evolution of that for sure. Yeah.
Now, when I was young and I was building my career, right, there was and I was working, I wasn't self-employed at the time.
Yeah.
There was this, you can't move before 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, for lawyers, is 2 years too short? Are firms looking for, when a firm is looking at a candidate, how much time do they want to see that person spent at a particular firm?
Sure.
At minimum.
So the sweet spot is 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Because when you start out at a firm, you're getting the grunt work. You're doing the types of assignments that prove that you have the work ethic, that you can be effective, that you have the capability. Depending on your practice area, so whether you're doing due diligence on a corporate deal, for example, versus helping with a litigation matter, as another example, doing intellectual property work, it can be different a little bit. But my point here is, it's once you get into like year 3+, you're given more responsibility. So that's typically how it works. And so typically year 3 is like the super special sweet spot. But I'll reference that same example post-COVID when deals were stacking up in offices. As long as you had a heartbeat, you could get in, and they were looking at like, you got a year, you're breathing, come on over. So market dependent as well, and circumstance dependent. So if that practice group has work coming out their ears, they're a little more open and flexible to just getting someone competent enough that they can train up. So it can be circumstantial too. Yeah.
So my niece worked for a big M&A firm.
Cool.
You would probably know them if I told you.
Most definitely.
And, you know, it very similar to private equity new associates in that her typical day started at 9 a.m. and ended around 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, they had rooms and cots in the offices. They had showers in the offices.
Sure.
You know, they had a 24-hour cafeteria in the office. It was like, if we can give you any reason not to leave this building, right, then, you know, we're going to give that, right? And so she had an apartment in New York City that, you know, she was like, you know, I paid rent every month. And she was like, I was probably in my apartment like 4 nights a month for, right?
Yep, part of the lifestyle.
So, but by virtue of that, you know, she made first year, you know, a lot of money by anybody else's standards. I think her first year was like 180, right? Which is a lot of money.
No doubt.
But when you quantify that against the number of hours you're actually working, like, you know, the cab driver is making more than you, right? But, you know, next year, I think it doubled, and like the years after that, it doubled, right? And of course, the workload trickles down. So when you're looking at new candidates, talk a little bit about work ethic and kind of what the expectation is. Yeah. Because if you want to make the big bucks in law, especially as a new grad, there's going to be a lot of paying your dues.
No doubt. And I could keep this pretty industry agnostic as well, because work ethic is still a huge driver that a hiring team, a founder of a company, a CEO of a company, myself included, and I trust you can attest to as well. It's a huge driver. It's a huge part of that DNA profile that really can set someone apart. And this could be seen as simply as, in the interview process, how responsive are you? How on the ball are you with follow-up? If you get a Zoom call invitation, are you responding within an hour, within a couple hours? Or is that hiring manager starting to question your work ethic because you're just not responding quickly? Now, this can differ highly if we're talking about these top law firms in New York City, for example. These are very high-achieving individuals. I typically don't see that kind of challenge, but just giving a different contrast, a different example. Work ethic is huge. You use the example with your niece of M&A, mergers and acquisitions, for those who are unaware. So work ethic is big, because understand the dynamic of a law firm. It's their promise to a client on the priority given to a matter. And if this company wants to acquire that company, they need to have the confidence with how much they're paying a law firm to know that work ethic is baseline, right? Top. So it absolutely plays, depending on the industry or not. It's still a highly driving factor, is the point. Most definitely. Yeah.
Now, in terms of your candidates' core values and your company's core values, right? What core values are you looking for from the company? What core values are you looking from the candidate? Or are they uniform core values that these are my core values and this is what I want to see resonated to me on both sides?
So I'm going to use your question very deliberately, to introduce the concept of these sacred 7 core values, which are very important for me, and which I support no matter the industry I'm working within, but a candidate to take on for themselves. So for example, courage, value number 1, having the courage to put yourself and your desires in your career first. What does this mean practically? It's, oh, I'm worried my team's going to miss me or the clients are going to miss me. That's not putting yourself first. And that's where you have plenty of professionals that are just feeling the weight of being in a career they end up hating. So having the courage to put yourself first, there's a value that I love anyone I'm working with to prioritize. Next up, honesty. Having the honesty to be real with yourself on whether what you're doing is truly fulfilling you or whether you're in a safe place, whether you're attached to what you know and you're scared to just venture out, whether it's starting your own thing or joining a team that truly values what you value. Honesty, being in integrity, not just if an airplane's flying overhead and the hull needs to be in integrity as a mechanical thing. We're talking about being in integrity with what you believe in. That could look like, is what I'm doing supporting and impacting the world in the way I truly believe? Are the clients I'm working with, if we're talking about attorneys, am I in integrity with who I'm actually representing, or do I want to work with someone different? So these aren't just esoteric values. It's made very practical.
Right.
Integrity, commitment. Am I ready to commit to taking action to really changing this and setting myself on a path where I'm going to be truly happier? I have a duty. Duty is the next one. I have a duty to create this for myself. And I'm going to honor myself and respect myself enough to invest my time and attention in making this real. And love. Work is love made visible to some, and I believe that strongly. So these are the types of values I support people to see in a different way. So it's not always, and I have a pretty harsh judgment. A lot of these professional, big time corporations, they've got the buzzwords, they've got the values on their website. But what I often end up finding is, depending on the group that an attorney or an engineer is looking at joining, it could be very different day to day. So what I truly believe in, and a bit of a tangent here, the companies, the teams that can offer a candidate like, hey, spend a couple hours with the team or come check out the office and see how it goes. If we're talking about attorneys, instead of just talking with the partners who are great at selling the dream, talk with the associates who are living it day to day and see what it's truly like. So it takes it from this esoteric thing or this thing you're reading on a website, and it's like, creativity. Oh my God, I really love that value, but is that truly, is it executed well on a day to day? So that's my long-winded answer for the values piece.
Cool.
For sure.
When I first moved to, I grew up in New York City, right? And so when I had when I left the company, I was in New Jersey and I went to New York City. I worked remote, right? But on the 2 days a month-ish that I was required to come in for meetings or whatever, I realized how isolating working remotely was.
Sure.
Right? And how on the days that I would come in, I would be able to interact with people in the office. You'd be able to share ideas, right? There was more cooperation and synergy, and that led to kind of better ideas being percolated. But then also there was the social aspect of like everybody's going to go out to happy hour together.
Sure.
And there was that extension of work. In legal, where are we right now in terms of how many firms are in the office firms versus remote firms? And is that something that comes the longer that you're with the firm, I guess, is a follow-up?
It's a great question. It's not so much. Number one, let's take COVID as a prime driver of how this affected a longstanding industry in the form of legal. When we had COVID and everyone was forced to work from home, that heavily influenced how firms had to adjust their policies. Once COVID ended and we were back in, call it normal operating procedures, post-COVID, little asterisk there, firms had to honor what they had created already. It was a huge cultural change. Understand, these firms, for a long time, the culture was you're working 5 days a week, sometimes 6, sometimes 7, depends on what's needed. But with that pendulum swing, a lot of these big time firms became a lot more flexible. 3 days a week in office, 2 days a week in office, depended on your practice area, the leadership of your actual group you work within, type of work you do. And what we're seeing now, a couple years removed from COVID, right, is the pendulum starting to swing back. So we're starting to see just overall policies are, hey, 4 days a week back in office.
Yeah.
But what firms recognize is with the new crop of attorney that came out of law school during COVID, flexibility, remote is all they knew.
Yeah.
So it's a cultural friction, frictitious. I might have made that word up, but
it's fictitious.
It's fictitious.
Yes, it's friction that's not real. Fictitious.
But it's recognizing that, hey, these attorneys only knew one way. And now these firms are swinging hard. So that's actually a driver for some attorneys on looking elsewhere. I know this is best for me, is their claim. So it's a huge dynamic in legal. And some firms are very friendly with the 3 days a week. But like we spoke about, for listeners out there who grew up with, you're with the same company for much longer, understand one of the challenges of having a remote team is you don't create that connection, like you just alluded to. So they're much more apt to jump ship.
Yeah.
They don't have the same relationship with the members of the team. So again, this is a dynamic that's affecting a lot of industries, not just legal. With legal, it's just very disruptive to the longstanding status quo. Yeah.
So final question, AI, right?
Yeah.
Number one, everybody thinks they don't need a lawyer now because they type in, think like an attorney in Florida and answer this question for me.
Look over this deal for me, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to upload this contract that was just sent to me. Tell me what I should do with it.
Right.
But in attorneys that are looking for their next role, how is AI either enhancing search and fit, and how is it kind of creating false promises for people that are looking for their next role?
Sure. So within legal specifically, some of these roles are very research heavy. They got to look at case precedent, things like that. That is very much enhanced by a tool like AI. There's even some companies, there's a big one named Harvey, which is at a valuation of several $1 billion by this point. Companies that recognized and plugged into the law firms. So versus trying to battle them, they aligned with them, right? So they sold this tool to the law firms to onboard their legal teams to use. Otherwise, if you play the we're not going to adopt this, you're left in the dust. So law firms have adopted artificial intelligence, depending on the culture of the firm. As an example, a white shoe New York City firm that's done it this way for 100 years, they don't trust the technology. They might see it one way, be slower to adopt, versus a firm that started out in Silicon Valley and is now one of the global powerhouses. They're making their own tools with AI and they're adopting much quicker. So you actually see it being used by attorneys, but especially in law and with some of this AI and the, it's called hallucinating, where you type in a response and it's not actually referencing case law, it's making it up.
Right.
That's a big issue if you're an attorney being paid thousands of dollars or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
So you really gotta, that's where attorneys are naturally risk averse. So they ensure that if they're gonna use this technology, we gotta vet it 1,000 different ways. And so you see it all over the place, man. Again, legal tech is a quickly expanding kind of sub startup culture or startup group. That's really affecting a lot of these types of things. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So people want to work with you. How do they get in touch? What do they do?
Sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Becker at LinkedIn. Outside of that, Andrew at careeralignmentgroup.com. And whether you're a business owner that's in need of great talent, but you haven't set up a system to define that ideal profile or set up the steps of the interview process. That's value I offer. For these big law firms, I work with plenty of them. As far as candidates go, I work with plenty of them. Or if you're just a professional that would like some great guidance, that's what I'm here for. So again, LinkedIn or that email, andrew@careeralignmentgroup.com.
Careeralignmentgroup.com.
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
Pretty easy. Well, thanks for coming today, Andrew. Pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And definitely learned a lot about the legal and the recruiting field. I didn't really,
no doubt.
I haven't had to use a recruiter. I don't know if I ever used a recruiter.
Yeah.
I just stand on the street corner with a sign that said I need a job, and then, people would be like, oh, yeah, I think I'll hire
He's got a blazer, look.
Yeah, exactly. I got a fancy blue blazer.
There we go.
But thanks so much for coming today. Really appreciate it. This is The Source, Rule Breakers, Lawmakers, and Influencers. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.